Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics with a fun and easy project using a new template set I found by Quilter's Paradise. Now, as you can see from the quilt behind me, there's curved piecing, so you're saying, how could this be easy? And I have always thought that curved piecing was complicated until I found this template set, which is absolutely innovative. This is the CutRite Slit N Sew template set, and they came out with two sizes. The size behind me makes an 8-inch block, and they also made a set with a 4-inch template set that produces a 4-inch block, which is great for smaller quilts, maybe table runners. But for today, we'll be working with the larger template set that makes the 8-inch block. So we, of course, have kits. This is Free Motion Fantasy. I just thought this collection was a lot of fun. It's from BERNINA, and it just popped off the background with the white fabric. So we chose 18 fabrics and repeated those twice throughout this particular project. This is a template set that works beautifully with layer cakes. So you could use one layer cake, cut 2 pieces from each, which is what we did here, or you could use a layer cake and each block is unique. So here's our kit for this project, which I'll put aside. Now, one of the things that I've always found challenging about curve piecing is getting it to just lay right and nice and smooth. And I think that's one of the things that is so innovative about this particular template set is they've added this slit feature to it. Of course, we all know that when you cut on curves or cut on angles, you have bias, you have stretch, and adding that little bit of slit gives it even more stretch and more ease to do the actual sewing. But let's get started with how we cut our layer cake pieces. In the template set, you'll also get some nice instructions. I think they did such a nice job of showing you different options for layout. In fact, I'm going to jump forward to that. They gave me 4 different ideas for layouts, and there's probably even many more if you just play around with the blocks. What they show in here consistently with the purple, I think the overhead camera can see that is this piece. It's kind of like a, I guess, part of a sun shape. It's kind of a quarter of a sun, right? That's the piece I will be using today on my layer cake. And this larger piece will be my white. And that's what they did demonstrate throughout their illustrations inside their instruction booklet, is that each time this will be your color piece, and this would be what I would consider to be the background. So we'll be using this piece initially. I'll grab my layer cake. And I love projects that use layer cakes. I find all kinds of patterns out in Quilt Market that use fat quarters, but I don't find that many that use layer cakes. So I was really happy to find another project that used layer cakes. Now you can, of course, cut more than one fabric at a time. Get a nice sharp blade, and you'll be cutting, potentially 3 or 4 layers at a time, and just speed up that process. So I'll put that one aside so I don't inadvertently use that. As I mentioned before, in our particular quilt, we chose to use the same fabric 2 times and only use 18 fabrics so we could save the other ones for another project. So if you get a layer cake, and this is just a piece of a 10-inch square that we cut, if it's got a little bit of that frayed edge, I wouldn't say frayed so much as pinked edge, it's got that nice jagged edge to it to reduce fraying, I would come inside of that and actually trim that away. You've got plenty of space to do it. Now, before I get cutting, one of the other things I love about this template set is they included this gripper strip with it. This is so incredibly gripping. Now, I've already put it on this set, but let me show you on my smaller set where I don't have this on there yet, just how slippery these templates are. They move all the way around my project very simply. But with the strip that they've included in your template set, now make sure you cut this with inexpensive scissors. Don't cut this with your rotary cutter. This will dull those excellent scissors you've paid good money for, or your blades, again, that you've paid plenty of money for. Use an inexpensive pair of scissors and cut those to some strips, and watch this. Now, this is on the side that doesn't have the grip. This just moves around. This is the side with the grip. It will not move. So this is a fantastic product. So let's get started. In this section, in this corner, I should say, I'm going to pretend like I have a pinked edge here, and I'm going to get off of that pinked edge. I just don't want to include that because I never really know, is that part of my seam allowance? Is that not part of my seam allowance? We recommend the 28mm rotary cutter because you're going to be getting into these slits. This is also a recommended tool from Quilter's Paradise. They've used both the 45 and the 28, and they just felt like the 28 kind of produced a better result. So let's get started. I'll be using my spinning mat today. Now I'm pushing right up against my template, and I'm just going to rotate this. And this is the beautiful part about spinning mats is I don't have to disturb my fabric because I want my fabric to be undisturbed so it's as accurate as possible. And I'll press against here, give a good cut, and then rotate one more time toward myself. So I'm always cutting away from myself. I have seen a lot of people do these types of cuts under their arm. Honestly, it's just dangerous. Please just don't do it. Spinning mats are a little bit of an investment, but you will not regret that. You will find yourself using it over and over again. Now here's our slits. We're going to go ahead and just get into that slit, all right? And this is where the innovation comes from because most Drunkard Path templates do not have these slits. They have the curve, but not the slit. The slit gives that additional relief that you're looking for so that you can line up this piece and this piece on the sewing machine and they come out beautifully without puckers and kind of pin tucks that naturally happen when you don't have the slits. Now you will use the other template with your white the exact same way. Put your white down, go ahead and cut around. If you're going to be using our kit, or you're going to be getting two of the same kind of quarter sun shapes or quarter moon shapes, you're just going to place this in the other corner, and as you can see, you have plenty of space. Now I went ahead and cut my white piece ahead of time, and it's the same thing. We're cutting around it, cutting into the slits, so we're ready to go. So let me grab that. And you can see these slits. Now here's our goal. Let's double check our slits. We want to have them far enough but not deeper than the 1/4 inch seam allowance. So don't be tempted to cut deeper than that. And I can see they're cut nicely. Now our goal, of course, is to sew this together. To begin with, and they have this written in the instructions here. So if you get confused by this, they show you how you'll begin. And the whole goal, as we take it to the sewing machine, is we're going to begin and we're going to get it up as close as we can as photography so you can see what I'm doing, but I'm explaining ahead of time. We're going to start and we're going to sew just 3 stitches and stop. If you have a needle down option on your machine, be sure to select it. I've also reduced my stitch length to 2.0. In her instruction booklet, she even recommends a 1.8. Play around with that and see what works best for you. I'm using a 50 weight confetti cotton, both in the top and in the bobbin today. This is part of our neutral set. This is 1,000 meters of fantastic thread. This is all I'm sewing with today. And really all of my piecing is being done with these 3 colors. A white, neutral, a gray. Of course, we'll be using white. I'm going to go 3 stitches and stop. And then my goal throughout the assembly is to line up those slits. So it's not fast sewing. We're just going to take it one piece at a time. 3 stitches and stop. Line up my slits, sew to my slit, stop. Line up my next slit, sew to that and stop. So let's go to the sewing machine now and I'll actually demonstrate that for you. So at the sewing machine, and again, use your kind of your guide that comes with the template if you need to. But you can see you've got slits here. See those? And we've got our slits here. To start with, right sides together, we're going to line up that top so it's just flush. Stitching just 3 stitches and stop. If you have a needle down function, again, go ahead and use it. This is a great time to use it. 3. Goal here is, see how I'm pulling down just a little bit on my colored fabric to line up so that slit goes right over top of the white slit. And we're going to sew to that point and stop. Now, See how I'm just kind of pulling my white fabric down, kind of fussing with and manipulating the upper fabric so those slits, now you can't see where one is and the other isn't, and I can see my plate beneath. Now we're going to sew to that point. And you will just continue all the way down where you are getting one slit to sit right over the top. Once you have that spot, pinning doesn't really seem to work well, but if I kind of get my fingers involved and kind of have them kind of press in that location, the fabric doesn't move. And I'm going to continue all the way down, just very carefully sewing from place to slit, all the way down until I complete, and this is one unit. So my block is sewn together, and now let's go ahead and take that to the pressing mat. Her instructions included in the guide are to either press to the color or press to your background, whichever you want to do. Now for this particular project, because the color is certainly darker than the background, it made sense to go ahead and press toward the color. And you will just continue making your blocks in the same exact fashion and then lay them out. Again, they gave you a nice variety of options here. We chose for this one because I just love how it kind of had this ruffled look and it really showcased the color pop. And look how nice that block comes out. So I am just so glad when new tools come out that make making blocks more fun, more accurate, and more achievable. So thanks for sharing part of your day with me, and I'll see you next time.